Now, let's get to violence. I could go to the government, tell them how to fix it, and it's for no money. And I'm going to give it right here. Hey, everybody, Larry Lawton here. Do I have a good video for you today? We are going to be fixing the prison system. Yes, fixing the prison system. It is a daunting task, but I do have some solutions, and I'm going to go over the problem right away. First, before I get started, please check my sponsor out, Oliva Cigar. Please check out my book, Gangster Redemption, my cigars, and like, subscribe, and please comment if you could. That does help us out. Now, one of my passions, everybody knows, is prison reform. It took a lot for me to get reintegrated back into society, and what I'd like to do is explain to everybody out there the problem, the fixes, and what we can all do to help at the end of the video. So, first of all, the problem. What is the problem with the prison system? First, let me tell you how bad our prison system is. We are the most incarcerated country in the world per capita. Like China and India both have 1.4 million. Actually, India has a little more now. But China has 1.69 million inmates. The United States has 1.9 million inmates. So you're talking about 300,000 more inmates. The third on the list is Brazil at 840,000. Fourth is India, which is 540,000. And then the fifth is Russia with 433,000 inmates. Now, before anybody says, oh, Larry, but they execute people, that's not true. We're not talking third world countries. Yes, China is a communist country. They're a little bit more closed than us, but they don't. They really run on a shame system. They have a lot more respect for their family name, and they do have a higher suicide rate than the United States, although suicide rate is high in the United States as well. But those were pure numbers. I'm gonna keep going on a few statistics I think you need to know before I really get into some of the whys and how to fix it. Crime overall, 1 in 5 people incarcerated are for drugs. Yes, still for drugs. Police make over 1 million drug possession. Hear what I just said? 1 million drug possession arrests per year, 6 times higher than for drug sales. Now, I'm not a believer in doing that because I think we are way over the world on drugs. So, in the federal system, the average age is 36 to 45, and that makes up 37.5% of the population. I'm going to continue only on the BOP because these statistics are up to date, meaning January 2024. Race, blacks are 38.7%, Hispanics are 29.7%, whites are 27.5%, and other, which is Asian, American Indian, are 4.1%. Now, states with the highest incarceration rate, which it makes up most of the 1.9 million people incarcerated, since the federal government has about 1.5 million people incarcerated, 1.5, 1.58 or something of that nature. Texas has 133,000 inmates. California, with a population of 38 million, has 101,000. Florida is third with 80,000. Now, New York, with 24 million people, have 30,000. Yes, only 30,000, because they are trying to be more proactive with not incarcerating people at a quicker rate like than the other country. Now, the least, if you want to go to a state that has the least incarceration rate, you can go to Vermont. Vermont only has 1,200 people in prison. And then next is Maine with 1,500 something people. And the third is North Dakota, because they're way up near Canada. I think we just forgot about that state. And they only have 1,800 people, 1,600 people incarcerated. Now, why are people incarcerated? That's the next part. Why do people get incarcerated? Well, obviously the United States drug laws are way out of whack still. You'd think in 2024 they would stop that. You would think they'd say, wait a minute, what are we doing here? We're arresting and incarcerating people at an average cost of about $28,000 to $30,000 per year per inmate. Now, the excessive use of pretrial detention and the use of prison for minor offenses, literally possession, petty crimes, petty offenses, is off the charts with most states. And I tend to believe it's more for money. I think sheriffs in counties can show that they're doing great on, we're stopping crime because look at how jails are full. Or if they want to say that they're good at law enforcement and we're lowering crime rate, they let people out. He tells his deputies don't arrest somebody. So he can manipulate numbers a lot of ways, a sheriff in a county who has control over the jail. And I'm a big believer that no sheriff should have control over the jail, because that's another budget and another way they can do that. And I don't believe that's right. Now, public order, the percentage of crimes that are breaking down for state now, this is for states, is 47% of all arrests and incarceration is 47% for drugs. You know, I'm such a believer in as a libertarian that what you do in your own home is your own business. And as long as you're not robbing somebody, as long as you're not committing a crime to get drugs, then they should leave you alone. What you do in your own home is your own business. I really believe that in a big way. 47% are drugs, 42% are public order offenses. Now, what's a public order offense? They do classify public order offenses as things that are against the morality or the civil order of a society. Now, that can go to public intoxication, fighting in the streets, petty theft, stuff of that nature can be considered a public order offense. 7% are only violent offenses. 7% are violent offenses. 4% are for property offenses. That's just stealing something. And finally, 619,000 people are incarcerated in local jails. Now, that's another whole video I'm not going to get into today, because that video is more as a local level, and there's ways to fix that as well. And prison industries. A lot of people talk about prison industry. What is a prison industry? Prison industries is a place for an inmate to work in the prison. Here's the problem with it. If it's for a private company, and there's very few do that, but if it is, they put that person out of business, because that's slave wages against the man who's trying to pay regular wages to a family on the street. You cannot compete with it. But that's far and few between. The big issue is they'll pay people minimum, not way low, minimum wages. Actually, 5 states pay nothing. But the other states that do pay, it could be 80 cents a day or less. It could be up, you're not gonna see anything over $2 a day, $5 a day. And in the federal system, it's 60 cents an hour, and that's like high pay for somebody in what they call UNICOR. That's a UNICOR, which is the prison industries in the federal system. Now, that again is not the reason we have incarceration. That's part of the reason we don't have rehabilitation, and we're gonna get into that as well. So here's the problem with that, with prison industries and prison wages. Here's what the state does to offset the numbers and keep you off check. They will take and use the money those inmates make, and they'll force those inmates to pay for medical care and pay for their housing in the prison. So they offset the cost of the prison. They say, oh, look how good we're doing. We're running the prison at a better level. In fact, I only found this out last year through one of my guests, a former union member of the Bureau of Prisons and a guest of this show, and he'll be on again, is that wardens actually get bonuses for saving money. That blows me away, where public officials gonna get a bonus for maybe cutting education, cutting food costs, cutting expenses out of that prison. It just boggles the mind.
Late fat. What? Profits down $3 from last month. I gotta start running a tighter ship around here.
And they're getting a good salary. Now, what are some of the problems in the prisons themselves? Let's face it, it's staffing. They cannot hire people to work in prisons. They can't do it. First of all, the minimum, here's the requirements to be a Bureau of Prisons guard, or most state guards. You have to have a high school diploma or equivalent. That's it. You do a 3-week course. Did you see what I just said? A 3-week course to manage inmates. It takes 2 years to become a cosmetologist. It takes years to become painters or auto mechanics. It takes 3 weeks to be a prison guard. Now, you're dealing with people with psychological issues. You're dealing with a violent area. I don't blame people for not wanting to be in the prison system or a prison guard. And their pay stinks. I mean, I'm all for giving people pay. Police officers, firemen, teachers, they all need pay increases. And here's why you're never gonna get a society or a city or a local government or a state to increase the guard pay. Because they're not behind it, because most citizens understand and know that the people in that prison, a lot of them don't belong there. So they don't want to put the money towards that to keep people incarcerated. They want to let them out. Most people just don't understand how the prison system works and what they're in there for. When you see people in prison for a non-violent drug offense, you say, well, what are we doing here? And when they give them 20 years, the average sentence for a person in the Federal Bureau of Prisons is between 5 and 10 years. And these are crimes of non-violent, maybe selling, 10 bales of weed. I don't care how much it is. I have some solutions for that as well. So staffing, they don't pay them right. And this is across the country. They do not pay people the way they're supposed to people. And that is the biggest problem we have in the system. Now, let's get to violence. We're going to get to violence because that's one of the key issues that are preventing people from getting rehabilitated back into society. And I have an actual system how to fix that. I could fix that for no money. I could go to the government, tell them how to fix it, and it's for no money. And I'm going to give it right here. The violence in prison is horrendous. I watched a man get his anus cut from the top of his anus to his scrotum. I heard the screams. I hear them to this day, and I get goosebumps. And then the next morning, there is crime scene taped across the cell door. And I get up every morning. I never slept past 6 o'clock in the morning, ever. All the years I was in prison. I got up with my boots on or sneakers, and I got out ready to have a cup of coffee and go to breakfast. Because I don't want someone coming to get me in my cell because I don't know why. Could be for any reason. Well, what happened was I got up in the morning at 6 o'clock, sitting around a table. One of my friends who worked in the medical department came into our unit and said, man, guys, you should see what happened to this kid. And we know the kid. We looked at the piece of paper and it said, inmate, and I'm not going to give his name, inmate's anus was cut from the top of his anus to his scrotum, and seminal fluid was found. 2 inmates cut this man for whatever reason. And let me explain something about this. Rape is not a crime of violence. It's not a crime of passion or sex. It's a crime of violence and power, and that's it. So get that straight. And it's some of the sickest stuff. So violence in prison is a big problem. And you take a young person who's under 25, he comes to prison, he goes to a medium or a high security prison where there's violence, and all of a sudden he has to either defend himself, join a gang, or do something so bad that he's going to get more time on his sentence. Now, what does that do? How do we stop that violence? Well, first of all, obviously staffing is one way. But another way is to actually have true inspections of prisons. And here's what I mean by that. They have a thing called the ACA, which is the American Accreditation Association. Well, the American Accreditation Association is all bullshit. Let me call it what it is. It's bullshit. Because it's an organization that is run by these organizations, so it's not a mandatory organization. But the prison says, we're ACA accredited. Here's what they do. They give them 2 weeks notice that, we're coming to inspect your prison. I remember it vividly. For all the years I was in prison, we used to like to hear they were coming because for 2 weeks we're going to get good food. We're going to, things are going to get cleaned up. They have the inmates painting the sidewalks. They take the disruptive inmates who are in what they call the SHU, Special Housing Unit, and who are really going crazy, and they will take those people and they will put them in a corner away from where they have to inspect. That's a big problem because those people don't belong in that SHU. In fact, there's a lot of stuff going on to this day where we're going to try to stop using the SHU as a disciplinary measure. Yes, it's needed, and I get it. I've been in the system. It is needed for the most violent of people until you can get them to a facility where they can handle that kind of person. But they're taking people and they're putting them into the SHU and forgetting about them. I was in the SHU for 11 straight months. 3 years out of my time, I was in the hole. Let's call it what it is. It is the hole. And they do that to shut you up. They do that and I love this one. He's in the SHU for investigation. The worst thing you can do to a man is put a person in place and he has no idea when he's getting out. When you had a date, you can do things with your mind and you can do things to keep yourself busy. And that's whether it's play chess against the wall with paper, with the cell next to you, or shoot kites on the doors and read more books, do stuff, work out. When you have no date, the depression starts hitting, and I can tell you that. How do we fix the system? Here's how we fix that. First of all, I bring a team in. You have a person of my stature, meaning a person who's been in the SHU, been in the prison system, who has rehabilitated himself. I'm an honorary police officer. I think I proved myself that I can work with both sides. I'm also recognized on the floor of the United States Congress. And so I think Congress also knows. You get a person of my stature, and I'm not the only one. You get a former guard, you get a former maybe warden, you get an administrator or a medical staff personnel who have unfeathered access to any prison. I didn't know if anybody out there knows this. Did you know your U.S. Senator, United States Senator, 100 of the most powerful people in this country cannot just go to a prison and say, I want to inspect the prison. They have to give notice and all this kind of stuff, which is wrong. We need unfeathered access. We put a couple of teams together. We have these teams have unfeathered access to any federal prison or state prison, whatever state does it, and they walk up to the prison and walk in. The minute the lieutenant who's running the prison at that time, or whoever is running it, denies them access to that prison, is fired. Is fired that quick. And he loses every pension, every point he ever made, he's done. That alone will make sure the next guy says, whoa, if I'm not losing my pension over this, come on in. And I would go in there on a Saturday, Sunday, maybe at night, walk and go right to the facility and to the areas I know the prison have problems. Now people say, well, then the prisoners are gonna get abused, they're not gonna talk to you. Oh yes, they're gonna talk to me. Here's why. What's gonna happen then is I know that I can have a system set up that we and that inmate gets to call me every day. And we transfer him anyway, if he wants to. If he doesn't, we literally have somebody call. The minute he's in the hole for something he didn't do, and we know, see, the people who've been there know what the system is like. That's why they don't want to do this, because they're hiding things. Why don't they have cameras everywhere in a prison? Cameras are cheap. I have them in this office. They're cheap. I have them around this house for my mother. Cameras are cheap. They should be in every single spot in prison. There should be no blind spots except a bathroom, and you'll see who comes in and out of that bathroom, and the cell. And you can see who comes in and out of that cell. So you can figure out what happened. That's how you stop violence in prison, and that's how you make prisons more rehabilitative structured. Here's what happens. Now, we give incentives to wardens on rehabilitation rates, on the lower recidivism rates. So if a person doesn't come back after so many years, he maybe gets a certain amount of points to that warden who instituted the most rehabilitative nature for that person. And that gives that warden incentive to make sure people are being rehabilitated. Hire the right people for rehabilitation, for actual courses. Don't give it lip service for the public. And that is what's happened. We're giving it lip service for the public. Now, the BOP itself says, oh, we have what they call a reintroduction into society program. Oh, really? I spoke at the Reintroduction Society in the prison I was in. Literally one of the only inmates to ever do that, go back into a prison he was in. And I knew some of the guys there. It was an amazing feeling. And when I went into that prison, I saw what was going on for that rehabilitation. It was a joke. You know, what people don't understand about reintegrating into society and rehabilitation, they need help with jobs, with education. They need housing. They need certain things like that. And I'm not here to be a bleeding heart liberal, because I am middle of the road. I am not a right wing. I am not left wing at all. I am a middle of the road guy. I'm a common sense man. Now, when you give people an opportunity to get on their feet, you will be surprised the work ethic of, first of all, people who were formerly incarcerated. That's off the charts. They know what it's like. They appreciate the little things. Now, what happens is, what the prison system is forgetting, and all reentry programs are really forgetting, is the psychological aspect. When you're in prison for as long as I was, when you're over a decade in prison, even after 6 months they prove this, you are institutionalized. Don't let anybody kid you. You are institutionalized. I didn't think I was institutionalized. I was educated. I did the law. I used to read the USA Today. I used to get that delivered. I was totally institutionalized, totally institutionalized. I could not buy a sandwich. I could not buy a cup of coffee at Starbucks. I went online, I looked up, and what they had was 20 choices. And that was called sensory overload. For all the years I was in prison, I had to make 100, 150 choices a day. The average person on the street today makes approximately 1,500 choices a day. What you're gonna do, where you're gonna get up, how many cups of coffee you're gonna have, what are you gonna eat, are you gonna go see a friend, are you gonna stop at the store today, you're gonna go to Walgreens. average inmate doesn't have to worry about what he's going to wear, where he's going to go, what he's going to eat, when he's going to eat, the times. He doesn't have to do that. He's institutionalized. And believe it or not, that's a tactic of the prison systems. They get you under their control so you're not rebellious. But that's how we can finish. We can fix the prison system by doing 3 major things. Concentrating on rehabilitation, and I mean true rehabilitation. And I'm not just giving that service because you hear it. Rehabilitation the way I know it. We can concentrate on reentry. When a person does get out of prison, we re-enter them into society in the right way. And the first way is in the head. One little thing to give you. A person gets out of prison and he's your relative. He's your friend, and I want you to listen to this. Don't go there. You want to help him, but don't go there and say, hey, give me the remote. I'm going to show you how it works now. You don't remember remote. He's been in prison for 20 years. The first thing he does, he's going to look at you. He's going to almost stare over. He's going to think, who's this guy think I am, stupid? Or he's going to say, what do you think, I'm a moron? I can't figure it out. Not say it to you, think it. And I don't care who you are. You go there and you give him the remote control. You say, check it out. Play around for a while. That's what you need to do. So reentry is that. Reentry in the right way psychologically, rehabilitation the right way, and stop the violence in prison. Because once you put violence on young people, they only know violence. Remember that. What you know is what happened to you. With that said, everybody, I hope you liked the video. I want you to please like, subscribe. Give me your comment on how you think we can fix the system. Because I want to hear from you, because this is a passion of mine. This is what I love to do. Have a great day, everybody. Please make good choices. Don't go to prison. I'll see you in the next video.